There's always one.
So, that's,
We're telling about those.
oh, yes. We also have an option for fat quarter bundles. So if you want to add to your stash,
Just for
as
the
far
color
as a little bit more,
For the color
Fat.
milk.
you just
We've
only
already had ladies come in and want to buy more yardage and some of that stuff. These are real.
So I'd like you to open up to page 7 in your book, and I'd like to start this by doing her last paragraph. That's kind of got what really kind of talked to me. It says, in the end, it all comes down to this. Making something again is easy. Making something new is brave. And making something personal is essential. So I want you to think about that when you're picking your colors and you're picking your blocks. Just think about the fact that you're going to get to do 100 new blocks, and that is just huge. It's huge. I mean, in one way, it's huge, but it's also being very brave, because I bet that all of you are kind of out of your comfort zone, and that's a good place to be. At times, but you know, for now, it's a good thing. So, how I came to the conclusion that we needed to do Sampler, and I talked to Anna Rose about this. I did this last year. It is the Moda, is my favorite color quilt. These are all the sampler. This is what a traditional sampler kind of looks like, and this is very simple blocks. There's just a lot of them. This was one of those situations where you cut this out. I don't normally do that. I don't think I trusted myself to cut out all these blocks, but in the way this was set up, you had to cut out everything, which gave me the opportunity of having everything cut, and then I could go downstairs, is where my sewing room is at, and I could just work for 20 minutes or an hour or whatever it took to make whatever parts of that I wanted to. That was huge. I really had never done that before, and it is really, really nice to be able to do that. So that's one of the pluses of doing this program, is that you're going to be able to cut out and make really about 45 minutes to an hour your block, which I think is going to afford us to go down every day, and just sew a little bit. And so it's not having to do a whole, row or just set aside all afternoon. No, just go down and just sew for 45 minutes. Sew for 30 minutes. It just kind of clears your head. It just kind of, just do it. Just do it. So, I think the first order of business, once we start looking at this book, is the one piece of advice I'm going to tell you is change your rotary cutter blade. Just go home and do it, because that was, I know, I was hacking away and I thought, oh, I've got to, change this. And I thought, no, just change your blade. You're going to need it. It's the first of the year. Just do it. It'll make this go a lot. These aren't big cuts, but to get used to it all, just change your blade. So in the book, what she it's kind of the table of contents. The blocks are set up as 1 through 15 blocks are going to be crosses, and this is kind of what she's talking about as far as the crosses. I'm going to put that over here. Can you see it okay? Can you see it okay? So that's kind of what she's saying as far as crosses, okay? Blocks 16 to 35 are rectangles, and I'll go ahead and get into that more next time, as far as, unless somebody wants to talk about that, what that rectangle means. The instructions on how she wants the rectangles done is on page 85. 36 through 55 are triangles. 56 to 70 is stripes. 71 to 85 is rectangles. And 86 to 100 is haiku. And what is haiku? Well, haiku is this kind of block, where you're going to take your fabrics and you're going to center them, or make that what your block is about. So haiku is a block which is more about composition than it is the shape. So it's more about this piece of fabric than it is this block. Does that make any sense? Okay. So fussy cutting is really kind of something we're going to be doing a lot more of this year. To fussy cut, I use the fussy cut ruler, and we are out, correct? And so
Yes, but we have them on order.
we have them on order. So if you would like one of these rulers, you can fill out a little order form and
Let me know.
yeah, let them know. She's in charge of that. What the fussy cut does is allows you to center on your fabrics. When you look at your fabrics, there's some pieces there that you may want to just hone in on. And so this allows you to do it. You're going to get cuts of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. You will not get 5 on this ruler. It's just the way it's set up. So on this one, what I fussy cut, and I will pass this around, start it around, you'll see what I fussy cut. I wanted a little something there.
Just that one.
Yeah, just that one. You can shout out when you see it.
Oh, shout out.
Yep, shout out.
All the little lemur.
That's right, because lemur entertain you. Anyway.
We need.
I know, it's,
Too late.
so, it's something, it's cute, yeah, it's cute. So then that kind of got me thinking about, well, how about I just put a lemur in every one of them for right now as I'm working through this group of fabrics. So I kind of use the fussy cut to do that. I'm going to pass this around so you can kind of look at it. The fussy cut, when you, where is the lemur at right now? When you have the lemurs, what I centered this circle on was the lemur's nose. There he is. So I centered it on his nose, and you can see I was able to get him exactly where I want him to be to cut that out. Because what this allows you to see is where that seam is going to be and how much allowance is going to be in the underneath the seam. So there's fabrics that you have that you're going to want to use the fussy cut, or just have some fun here. So, all right, you guys all see it. Okay, I'm going to toss that your direction. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And that lady up there. Oh, I'm sorry. That one
Choosing
right there.
colors. We're going to talk more probably next month about choosing your colors. And I know some of you are using colors that you're not used to using. I know. Just saying. With the color wheel, it's probably what we usually do is we go across the color wheel. So in yellow, if that's going to be your key, then you're going to go to purple. You can see it here. And we're going to talk more and more about it. I like to use color. I know what I like. I don't know if I can necessarily explain. When I see something that is right, I feel okay about it. When I see something that it didn't go, I kind of do the, If you are making your block and you do that, you start doing the, I'm not sure, change it, move it out. You're only committing to, a lot of these blocks are 1.5 inch wide or by 2.5. I mean, they're not a lot of big pieces. You're gonna have little pieces. Experiment, date other fabrics, do whatever it takes, but you're gonna be able to use colors in ways that you're not probably used to, and I'm not used to either. So when I did this block, I dated, in my mind, I thought it was going to go in the direction of, this is what I originally cut out. So I wanted this outside, I wanted these 2 pieces, and then I wanted this green. What does your eye go to every time? The green. And I thought, that's not it. So I went with that instead. And I was happy with it. I think that it's okay. You're going to have to pay attention to yourself. And when you don't see it, you're okay to change it and do something different. I wanted to add a little color, so I added a little color. So, I mean, you can start doing that, and then,
Oh, there's your lemur.
there he is, yep.
He's upside
Oh.
down.
There he is. So made the block, put it in my book. So, let me see where. Your blocks are gonna only be 6.5 by 6.5. You really are gonna have an opportunity of just working with a lot of different fabrics, and you're gonna not commit to a huge amount of cutting. Most of them are pretty simple. The blocks that are going to, that if you want to use, where's our little sheet? This one. Anna Rose was very nice, and she,
So some of you have these on labels.
So nice.
thank you.
Thank you.
I thought of everything.
I love this organization.
Well, it is.
You can put them in the
I
front.
I
of
just
why
wasn't
I'm like-
prepared to print it on that paper.
Yeah.
That's where things got a little weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if you want to just start out with 2 colors, these are the blocks that you're going to want to make. So that would make this, so this is a block that's really actually 3 colors, that one that you just saw. This one is a 2-color block. I wanted to use that fabric. I hadn't used it yet, and I wanted to use it and see how it went. When I tried to date this with it, it just, I couldn't see it. I didn't, yeah, you get that feeling, yeah. So it would have just not been the value I wanted. I think I wanted more dramatic value, if you could say it that way. This one just went another direction. I didn't like it. So, does that make any sense at all? Okay. When you cut these out and it just doesn't feel right, just do something else. That's okay. This is going to be all about what you want to do. Did I tell you about my first samplers that I did? Okay. So my first samplers that I did, I had to pick fabrics I didn't even know what the pattern was about, and it was the most frustrating I'd ever experienced, I'd ever been through. Then the second sampler I did okay. It was block of the month until we got to a month where the color was just, oh, really there was no way I was gonna be able to work with it. I even tried swapping it out, but it just never worked. And I got frustrated with it. This is not gonna happen to you because number 1, you already got all the pattern. Number 2, you got all the colors are in your control. This is all about what you want and how you want to put it together. And I think that that's less frustrating for a block of the month because it's going to be what you want. If you want to pull from your stash, go for it. Take it out of your stash. If you think there's something that'll match that better that you're going to be happier with, use it. It's your quilt. It's your blocks. So in sewing these together, the sampler quilt there, when you take all pattern out like this sampler is, and it is just plain fabrics, what I found out was you can't hide a darn thing. So if your seams don't match up, you're gonna see it. Because all the print is gone, and you're gonna have to be pretty honest about the whole thing. When I did that quilt, what I found out was I was getting kind of sloppy, and I was not doing my 1/4 inch seam all the way across. For some reason, I got it in my head that it was okay to drop off a little bit and be at the end at less. It is not okay. So I was unsewing a lot more than I probably should have. So I really am gonna say this year, you gotta hone in and you gotta get right your 1/4 inch all the way across your seams. Check yourself, and I would strongly encourage you to get one of these. Are we out of these?
No.
Okay, these are here yet.
Yes.
Your 1/4 inch seam all the way across.
What are those called?
Yeah. Measuring gauge.
Measuring
Measuring gauge.
measuring gauge.
How do you use that?
Your 1/4 inch is right here. So you just take your seam, you take your seam make sure, hopefully this is gonna be the right one. Okay, it's right. Okay, see, it's right there. So I'm gonna
But what
hand this to you.
happens if it doesn't measure 6.5 inches when
What
you?
happens is, if it goes to an eighth of an inch, and you keep doing that, that eighth is gonna just keep adding up and adding up and adding up, and your seams are not gonna match.
So what do I do?
Well, Anna Rose, what would you do?
So if it were me and I accidentally made it and it was 6 1/4, I would just put it off to the side and I would make a whole new block, because I would use that other block as in a crumb quilt and a little table runner and a little pillow, a pincushion, something else. I'm not going to seam rip that. I have you guys have 60 to 70 fat quarters that you'll be accumulating. You have enough fabric to cut a second block. There may be a block that you even fall in love with and decide to make 6 on purpose. But for me, as a quilter, I don't want to use the time to seam rip. I would rather just cut and make it again.
And Jen, what would you do?
I'd rather not.
Both are good options. Both are acceptable.
You know.
You on a fabric store.
I don't mind.
I'm only using what we're giving you guys. But yes.
So if you have what I finally decided I better do is I better get a 1/4 inch seam or 1/4 inch foot on my machine. So there are two here. There's two options, and these are for the brother machines. If you have a brother, the one and the other machines, I'm sure you might want to recheck on your seams whether or not on your machine where you're going to get that 1/4 inch, but you need that 1/4 inch. This is with a guide. It's for people who use pins, and I don't. Yes, I do. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll say it again. You cannot use pins with this one because they're not going to go under that bar. So then this one is available, and this is the one I've really gone to, and I really like it. And it is a 1/4 inch. It really makes me stay 1/4 inch all the way across my piecing. And that I think is very important. If on these 6.5 inch blocks, if you are not right, it's just gonna compound and it's just gonna make it so it's gonna be off. So just every block, if you just kind of hang in there with it and make sure it's 6.5, it's gonna be to your advantage.
Which side? Right this side? This side. So you put your fabric,
Right there.
oh, in the center.
Yeah, your needle's going in the
And
center.
okay, on this side it will.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Not that
Did you want one?
jut out, but the other.
Okay.
It's worth getting that piece, because it really does, it's gonna matter in the end.
Yeah. So this is the-
Your block's 6.5 by 6.5. Mine are a little under, but I know when you sew something together, you're gonna gain a little bit, and it's gonna be just enough in my mind to make sure those seams are right. So color value of the fabrics, and I think that maybe, I'm not thinking that you're gonna have to worry too much about the colors right now, is the values. And the values are how dense the pattern is. So there's a big difference between these two. There's a big difference between these two. And so this value, I think, would have a less value, against this. This one is pretty dense, this one is dense. But I think that you're just gonna have to start cutting out some things and putting things together and decide, is this what I like? And am I gonna be happy with this? If you're not happy with it, cut something else out. It's okay. Just stack that away or stash that away, and it's gonna be okay. I organize my fat quarters by putting them on comic book. What do you call these things again?
Covers, comic book covers.
Covers.
Is what they call them.
And I stack them that way because look at this
Beautiful
tub. This is a beautiful tub, but what do we do with this tub? We're going to be going like this.
Guess whose tub is Anna Rose's and guess which tub is Jan's.
And in all honesty, I have a friend who does this way, and when we visit her, she's just doing this all the time, and I find, you got these. Rosemary showed me how to do this, so that really helps because you can see it better, and then you know what you have.
Mhm.
So if you just start doing these are great.
Where do you get those?
Amazon.
Yeah, it's a comic book cover.
How many did you
Or you can look for
I
like
ordered
chipboard
200.
is something like it too, but comic book covers
That's
have
a
the
good
white
size. And
colorful part. Chipboard is
You can make these. You can put any size on. I just happen to put fat quarters on because that's what we're getting right now. But you can put. I think Rosemary says she puts up to a half a yard. When she gets into yards, she just starts putting them between, and she's got a color wall that really helps her to be able to pull. And I think Marla started doing it too, and she said she had cuts of fabric that she had already purchased 3 times.
Go to her husband.
So I mean, it does help that when you get these piles of stuff. So, but you know, some people organize this way and are happy, and some people have to do this. Anyway, so when you
both are correct options.
yeah. So,
Mine's still contained in a basket.
yeah.
It still has
Yeah,
rulers.
and it is a Target tub. So these are probably wise at some point in your life to get one of these color wheels. They really do help, and we're going to talk more about the color wheels. But just to help you, especially with these fabrics, because you're we're marching down a road that is kind of interesting. So because we needed to talk more about color, we did get books in. We are ordering this. We're trying to. This is a great book. Anna Rose and I have been reading this one, and it is a good one. It talks not only about color, but it also talks about value, and it's very, very, very good. So I'm going to pass this around, and you can start looking at them. This one we do have in stock.
No.
No.
Jan and I were pre-auditioning books of which ones we thought were going to be the best choices before we went in and ordered. And because there are close to 70 of you participating, there's also a big difference between 3 books and 50. So if you want any of them, you'll get the 10% discount on those books. But if you can let us know if you do think you'll want one, that'll just help us ordering it. But you're not prepaying for it today or anything.
When you have a fabric set, you have a pretty close value. So if you took the tub and I started putting these together, these two, on top of each other, what are you going to see the pattern?
Just not.
And likewise in the black and white. So that's when you want some contrast. So I showed you the green that I auditioned and went with something else. I showed you, so this was where I wanted to use this fabric, but I did not think when I tried this one, that was going to work. So you can see how the value kind of, those lines were just going to get weird. I think that the lines were too much like that line. And so then I went with this one. So that is on page 13, or I'm sorry, is block 13. When you do your blocks, and this is the way I organize it, when you do your blocks, let them dry after you press them, and then put them in your book. That's how I'm doing it. We found out in the course of this day that there are several ways to do this, which is kind of fun. This book, if I have any difficulty with, I can't get it to stay open. So Nancy Lowe took it apart and put it in sleeves, and then put her fabrics that she was going to use in it. And she's got a notebook that is awesome.
But she cut her book apart.
We have to move beyond that, don't we? 'Cause
She-
that's
she-
hurt.
It's an option, but hers. I wish you could have seen her binder. She's making a block, an art postcard. She's already pulled. She made practice blocks ahead of time from her stash because no one had their fabric until today. So we didn't give her an early head start. She just went for it, which is great.
That was very
She's
brave.
brave,
Yeah,
very
she's
brave.
Very brave. The other person was Sharon Kilgore, and she took hers to FedEx and got a spiral.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can get them to be spiral bound. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it was cool.
yeah, and it laid open, which I think is huge. So,
Maybe I'll go to
I
FedEx tomorrow.
want to just touch back on, okay, to starch or not to starch. It's almost like, what's the other, yeah, to starch
Yeah.
or not to starch. So Anna Rose has thoughts and feelings about that.
I do. So lots of complicated feelings. So this is for the virtual people, and all of you will get this link as well. So on the whole starching aspect, so when we're dealing with tiny pieces, it's really important that even if you cut your pieces accurately and you use the seam guide and you sew an accurate seam, if you introduce starch or steam after you've pieced something or after you've cut it, you're going to have shrinkage. And so you can start off with the 6.5 inch block, steam it if and it can shrink. So in the ideal situation, if you are planning to do starch and steam, that's how you quilt. I use steam and starch all the time. Is you want to prep your fat quarters before you start cutting out these 1.5, 2 inch, 1 inch strips, and you can experiment, but if you cut a strip and then steam it or starch it, it will shrink. And that's just natural for fabric. It's very uncommon for people to actually wash and dry their fabric before they start cutting it. That's like a very old, it's just not common. So you don't need to do anything quite like that, but if you do want to use starch and steam in your quilt making process, I would highly encourage you to do a thorough job of starching or steaming your fabric before you start cutting it up. So that's my little nugget. Otherwise you will see shrinkage afterwards, and because we're dealing with smaller blocks and smaller pieces, it will make a bigger difference doing that at the beginning. So just something to keep in mind. But personally, I'm a starcher steamer because I know all my quilts, I hope they go on beds and they get dragged on picnic tables and they get dirty and they get washed 5 times. So I know my end projects are going to get laundered. And so that's why I don't mind doing that. If you are going to be an art quilter or use a dry iron in the whole process, just be consistent, just like anything. And you won't have to worry about that shrinkage until your project ever gets washed, which could be never. So that's I'm a starcher steamer. I like Best Press and Magic Spray. Those are the two that I like that are trustworthy. If you use a different type of brand, be brave and test it out before you do everything. But that's my feelings on the matter of starch and steam.
And then there is a theory too that on smaller pieces to use a dry iron, you won't have any of the shrinkage, or versus if you are going to use the steam, you may have. So you can just use a dry iron, a hot dry iron, and that's okay. That's probably a good thing to do that.
But how do you press?
Press it. This is not an ironing job. We are not ironing today.
Can you demo what ironing looks like?
Ironing is, you know what, you're not. Okay.
Back and forth.
What we're going to be doing is we're going to go up and down. Now, it's not to say that I haven't gone down a seam, but you're going to stretch. So just go up and down and just press. Not iron. We're not ironing. So it'll help your blocks stay in good shape and not get wonky or stretch out. So when we're talking about value, I just kind of want to go back on one item here on the value. On this block, can you see the value when you look at can you see where I kind of, these 2 blocks have a different value than these 3. Did it bother me enough to take it out? No, it did not. So, but I left it. But that's what you have to kind of pay attention as you're working with these fabrics. So this is block, oh gosh. I see when these flip back, it's hard to get back in there where it is. I really can't remember now which one it was. But I also, yep, there it is. So, have fun with this. This is an opportunity to do something just kind of fun. So, like I said, do your blocks. If you don't like it, do another one. Just keep working at it until you feel like you're where you want to be with it. So the tools of the trade is, of course, get your target tub so that you can kind of keep things in one place. This is really a working with the small pieces, and it's just small blocks. But kind of, if you do that, it'll help you kind of keep going forward and not be frustrated. And I will say the other thing that I'm trying to do every time is when I'm finished for the day, clean your area, put everything back, because if you do that, you know, you're gonna not spend 5 or 10 minutes trying to find something. When you start again, you're gonna be ready to go. So I've kind of been working at making sure that my area is where I'm sewing is everything's put away. And then the place that I can remember it is. The 6.5 inch ruler I think is important. Rotary cutters, of course. Circle mats kind of helped me. I could kind of twirl it around and cut them a little bit better. And then you can think about the color wheel. I think it does help me kind of remember where I want to be. This is color melt, and this is Anna Rose block. So she sort of fussy cut to make sure that this seam is up here. So it's going to take off a little bit, but not much. But that's a pretty good center as far as where she's putting that. And I don't know where that piece went. Somewhere. So anyway, does anybody have any questions? You guys, you don't have to do 10 blocks a month. You can do 5, you can do 15, you can be an overachiever, do all of them. You know, it's what you guys want to do.
So that's my question, like, are we supposed to do blocks of 1 through 10?
Nope,
We
not
just do
necessarily.
whichever ones we want. Okay.
If this is your
So this
quilt,
is much more loosey-goosey than I've ever done.
it's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. It is going to be out of my comfort zone, though.
Well,
Be brave, be bold.
yeah, be brave, be brave. I
So
think
are these like the blocks we're supposed to make with the teal, and these are the blocks we're supposed to
Those are the
make?
blocks in the book that show as teal. You don't have to at all. And the other one is, if you want to just use 2 colors, those are the blocks you have to, which, you know, there's times I want to just pull 2 colors and see what happens. I think I'm more curious as to what's going to happen if I just do this. And so you're going to look up that, and that's kind of a cheat sheet. When you do make that block, if you want to yellow it out or whatever, then you kind of know where you're at too. So, anybody else?
Well, how many blocks are we?
As many as you want. Whatever, and you can make 100. You can make 150 if you want. You can make 50.
You can make 100 of the same block.
Yeah.
How many?
You're getting,
All 100. And you'll have extra.
and if you want, if there's something that you want, like if you want your blocks to be more of this,
Yeah.
you can purchase this. Okay, yeah. If you say, you know, I think that I want some blocks to go around this, or, you know, it's okay, all right. Okay, I think that's everything that I need to tell you today. Next time we meet, we'll be at 6 o'clock, and it'll be in here. We are gonna offer on the first Friday of the month, a sew day, that if you wanted to come and sew, this will be open. So, Anna Rose, you wanna explain the sewing day on the Friday?
Yes, so the first Friday of every month, there will be the city sampler, like, optional sew day. So it's $10 to reserve your spot, and it'll be all day here, so 10 to 5. Working on your projects. You can bring something else. We're not going to kick you out if you start sewing on a stash challenge project. Someone did. Anyway, but then if you ever do come to the 1 o'clock session and you can stay after and sew, that one's you just have to register online for that ahead of time. So that one, each month, that will be listed separately. So like right now, the one for February is listed online that you can go on and sign up for. And that's just to reserve your spot, since we're still in this classroom most of the time, because the retreat house is mainly booked up. Now we'll also be planning a couple full day and 2-day retreats that we'll have throughout the year, because that seemed to be the most interest for everybody. So we'll get that scheduled and let you know a couple of those options, but we'll have several different ones since there's so many people participating, so that there's plenty of options to sign up for that. And there's still room in a few of the colorways, so if you have a friend and you post your picture and they're like, oh, I want to do that, there's some there's some open colorways, so people can still sign on.
I'm thinking, there's
Yes.
something else I wanted.
So days, retreats, fabric subscription programs, just fun stuff.
Oh gosh, I can't think now. Okay, I think I've gotten everything covered that I needed to cover. I think.
Yeah.
I think so. So there's the recommended tools and stuff that are on your page. Those are just cool things that you can have an excuse to acquire if you need them in your life.
Do we hand out this?
Not to everybody. I did it to the color wave.
The color, okay, the color rate, okay. Pinterest seems to have a lot of interest. Did you get one of these? She did. Okay. Pinterest has a lot of ways to put these things together, these quilts together. So on the back of the book, she has some different options as far as how to, this is going to be the November, December time frame, but just kind of look at this so you can kind of get an idea where we're headed to start putting this together in the end. So, oh, I feel like there's something else I was going to tell you. I can't think of it now. So,
What's a pressing stick?
pressing stick is a stick about this long, and it's got a curved edge to it, and it's covered with canvas. And when you steam it, when you take your block and put it on there, the seam just nicely opens up, and then all you can do is just press it. I like it because it just on blocks when you're opening. I press open. You can press to the side. It's completely again up to you guys. But it does nicely open, and then all you do is just put your iron on there and press it. So, all right. Well, the ladies this afternoon that sewed from 2 to 5:30, they were able to make 2 blocks, and they were just starting. So this is all new to them, and they were still able to make 2 blocks. So it's going to be something you're going to do really fast. Oh, I know what it was. So next time you come, please bring your books, and it should be just full of blocks. And if you don't mind, if we would, my thought is that we would kind of exchange them so you could get some different ideas. But I'd like you to think about whether you would mind if people ask you, can I photograph it, are you going to say yes or no? Just think it through. But if anybody wants to take a picture of one of my blocks, you're certainly able, take a picture so you can kind of jumpstart and think about putting one together or what to do. These are up for anybody who wants to look through this to do this. But bring your book back next month, and I'd like everybody to kind of exchange and look at each other's blocks, if you don't mind, is to get ideas. And we're going to talk more about color next month, and values. Okay. All right. So the virtual people.
Say goodbye.
Bye.